Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar on using LinkedIn as part of your strategy. We are very, very excited to have Tim Dean here. Tim is known as the Coaching Dean, and he is wonderful in that he's sharing his expertise and insight with you. Just to give you a little bit of a background on Tim, and of course, most exciting part, he is a certified professional coach. He's a workshop facilitator, motivational speaker, and Tim has been inspiring colleagues and clients to realize their personal and professional potential for 2 decades. Tim's coaching specialties include executive, career, and work-life balance, and he has a passion for empowering others to create the life they want to live. If you'd like to know more about Tim, you can check him out at thecoachingdean.com. Definitely worth taking a look at that. And while we are switching the screen over to Tim, I do want to let all of you know, because of the number of people on the call, you will be in mute-only mode during this one. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is when you do have a question, please type it into your control panel for the webinar. I will monitor questions as we go. If I have an opportunity, I'll jump in on Tim and give him the question right then. Alternatively, we'll hang on to those questions and cover them at the end. So definitely get your questions in. I'm hoping most of them will answer as we go. So thank you for being here, and Tim, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Great to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Just thrilled to be here today and excited to share just my passion about LinkedIn. As Kathy shared, I certainly have a passion for empowering others, but LinkedIn has been a part of my just strategy for years. So happy to be here, excited to share some cool information, and as she mentioned, please feel free to throw in some questions accordingly. So really just want to start with our agenda. Oh, let's get to that. Hold on. Oh, there we go. So really today I'm just going to spend just a few minutes at max just to summarize some user statistics around LinkedIn, just who's on it, what are some of the demographics, just to really validate why it makes sense. Certainly on a professional standpoint, everyone should be using it to their advantage. Then I'm going to share kind of what I see are 3 primary uses of LinkedIn. There's a myriad of reasons to use LinkedIn, but I've kind of encapsulated them down into 3 main buckets, and we'll go through each of those. Then I want to talk about just how to optimize your profile. That might be something everyone already has. Are we all at 100%? How to get to 100% if you're not. But more than that, just what are some things you can do to really maximize that profile and presence. Just share a little bit about some key features and settings within LinkedIn that are out there, again, and how to do some cool things to streamline some searches and processes. There are some membership levels for those that are interested. If you ever want to kind of hone in on a specific target audience or use LinkedIn as a membership service, what are those like? And finally, some specific kind of nuggets and tips to maximize your presence now. What are those things you can do today, where you are on LinkedIn, and then for maybe those more skilled people within LinkedIn or more versed people within the platform, what are things you could even be doing today to maximize your presence? So just some initial stats, and these are out there. What's so amazing about it is it was only launched in May of 2003, so it's barely 10 years old coming up. But there's already now 200 million members across the globe, and if that was a country, it'd be the 5th largest. Of that 200 million, 37%, or 74 million, are here in the U.S. And if you kind of, my background's in engineering and math, when you take that down to the micro level, they're adding 2 new members every second. So in essence, every day, more than 170,000 people are joining LinkedIn every day, and that's worldwide. So who's on LinkedIn? This is just a great visual that I like to use that lists across the left all of a slew of different social media platforms and communities. Way down at the bottom is LinkedIn. Now, not surprisingly, the average age on LinkedIn is the highest at 44.2, but you'll see by the bar graphs of where are the bulk of those age brackets across each of those social media communities and networks. So if you're ever looking, okay, what are the age groups across several others, it makes sense. For example, if you go way up, there's Reddit and Tumblr, so that has more of the younger generations. But LinkedIn is certainly more for the seasoned professionals. It's, documented higher incomes, higher titles, professionals, and I'll even have some more data later around some companies. Now here, this is just another similar social look, but this is just gender. LinkedIn is almost right around the center. If you'll see, the male usage is, not usage, I'm sorry, males are about 49%, 51% female. But what's interesting, and while that ratio is even, or roughly 50-50, the number of men using LinkedIn, the active users, is 63 to 39. So just an interesting factoid, but also an opportunity for people to recognize how to benefit who's already using it. Based on industry, again, this is just in the U.S. There's just a list here of whether it be IT, which is the highest, and then down to higher education, computer software, et cetera. I included healthcare on here separately as just a way to show that because, as one of our largest industries, that is also a significant number of those that are on LinkedIn. Now moving on, this is again kind of my 3 buckets. And again, there's a slew of reasons why it makes sense to use LinkedIn for both personal and professional reasons. But if I tried to group them, these are the 3. So going left to right, really it's just a great opportunity to reconnect. How can you use LinkedIn to, as it says there, stay in touch? And we'll go through a slew of things there. The middle area, which I tend to think a lot of people see LinkedIn as, and certainly what it's known for a lot, is for career searching and career finding, both from someone who is in transition, but also from a recruiter standpoint. What's interesting, and I'll just take a second, years ago, for those that are old enough to remember, the best way to ever find a job was one-ads. You had to read through the paper and send your letters and stamp and mail. Then when internet and the computers came along, sites like CareerBuilder and Monster.com became kind of the go-to forum and medium to do it quicker and faster and more spread. But ironically, LinkedIn has now become the go-to space, and I'll share some data around that, which is basically, I feel, in my opinion, made Monster and CareerBuilder a little obsolete. And then the third big bucket on the right is it's an incredible database of like-minded industry experts. So there's an awesome opportunity to utilize that brain power to ask questions, get answers, and ultimately have opportunities find you. So back to the first bucket. As I said earlier, 74 million individuals are on LinkedIn in the U.S. That's a huge database of just of data. What a great mining that you can just go search and find. So as such, as you'll see here in the list, it's just a great professional forum to find a colleague, maybe to find a new person you just met, maybe to reconnect with someone from your past, a past job, a past engagement, consulting, whatever. As such, it's a great way to increase your credibility because LinkedIn it provides the system to have you be seen as an expert in certain areas, whatever you decide it is. So it's very situational. You own your own profile. You own your own presence. So today is to share what are the best ways to maximize that. I've seen companies, in fact, use LinkedIn to boost their own business and bottom line. And I'll talk a little bit about the difference between a personal profile and a business profile. Clearly, it's free. It's it's kind of a no-brainer. Even if you don't want to pay for a membership, it's free. So it's an awesome adjunct to use in your tactics, whether it's marketing online to supplement offline marketing. Why not? And then, as I mentioned, kind of at its core, it's an excellent resource to build, or really to initiate, but really to build and maintain those working professional relationships for always. And bottom line, people are going to look for you on LinkedIn. In fact, Kathy and I were talking offline before we started. It's the first place I now look for someone when I meet someone new, or when someone is referred to me, or when I come across a new company. becoming now, other than searching just maybe their name on Google, I will go to LinkedIn immediately and just see what their presence is like. And like it or not, or right or wrong, there's a perception that me as a surfer will create based on their completeness, based on their presence of what that may be, good or bad. The second big bucket, and again, the one I feel LinkedIn is probably known for too, and the data bears that out, 70% of people are using it for job hunting. And I'm a perfect example. When I was in transition, I in fact posted my resume as a Word document, as an attachment within my profile, which therefore allowed anyone finding me and searching for me, or even when I applied for certain positions, a simple, easy way to download my resume even directly off of my profile, in addition to whatever way I was doing it. Again, this isn't meant to be in lieu of anything. It just is a great forum to make it simpler for, as the second graphic shows, and as the next page is going to reinforce, recruiters are using LinkedIn. This is their primary tool to find people. In fact, on to the next slide, you'll see the three kind of primary social platforms. Look how each of them, while they're all increasing each year, look at LinkedIn, 93%, most popular network. So that is the place people are looking. Now, caveat, of course, it's also a place you don't, depending on your situation, I completely understand if you don't want to promote that you're looking, and we can talk about that in terms of settings. But if you are in transition, or certainly even if you're not in transition, just know people are looking at your profile and kind of seeing what kind of background, commonalities, et cetera. And it's a great way for you to be proactive to do the same as you're reaching out and networking and building those relationships with new people. So here are some key points around that, how to power your career. As it states, 2.8 million companies are on LinkedIn, and representatives, executives from all Fortune 500 companies, that's 2012 data, are on LinkedIn. So again, even if you're not looking for a job, which you could showcase your resume, it's a great way to find and know a company and start to follow a company. Again, if you are looking, I remember using LinkedIn to search for potential people I was going to interview with, to find out what are some of the interesting anecdotes or commonalities he or she and I might have to prepare for an interview. Excellent resource to search that out before you go in and sit down with someone. And again,
Tim, that brings up a great question.
Oh,
so
please,
this one's
Kathy, go.
the question panel.
Yep.
One of the people on the call is a career coach, and he's got a client who wants to work with him on building his web presence as a leader in his niche in the tech industry, and he wants to start LinkedIn. So right now his profile is essentially a career resume. He wants to streamline it so it speaks to his new leadership role. He's thinking about a web page that has more than a bio. It would have the vision, the industry, et cetera. And then he's thinking about having this person start blogging. So with all of that in mind, he wants to know how they should position his LinkedIn profile.
Great question. And what's great to hear about the specifics of the question, Kathy, is it's a combination. It's a blended approach. So I'm glad to hear that there's thoughts of having a web presence, also blogging. But LinkedIn is that kind of professional resource that people are going to go to. How to do it is start rephrasing, whether it's your profile or your summary or some past careers, and as you're editing your past experiences and accomplishments, and I've seen this done really well, is rephrasing certain accomplishments that, while very quantifiable and good at the time in that certain industry, rephrasing them to best match the competencies and skills that you, as now a career coach, and are looking to promote, because those words will be searchable. Those words are what people are going to be looking for within your profile. In fact, as Kathy shared, I am a certified coach, and Kathy actually certified me. What I did after getting certified, I in fact went back and redid my whole profile and adjusted a lot of the terminology, but also the phrasing and the order of some of the things, so that when I summarized core competencies, for example, they were most relevant to coaching, as opposed to in my prior years, I was more of a marketing consultant, which had things like branding and positioning and messaging, which, while great then, really don't resonate today. So LinkedIn, you want to ensure that the message that would be on that web page is also similar and reinforced with the terminology and message on your LinkedIn profile.
Excellent.
Great question.
Thank you.
No, yeah, keep them coming. And then the last bullet, and I'm not going to promote, I'm not going to espouse that I'm a Google expert or a search engine optimization expert, but the little I do know, it's important that, and building on the perfect question, that's a great segue. You want to have terminology within your core skills and your summary and your job summary statements, if you will, that are search words that best represent things around your expertise. Because that's, again, when you think about it, the LinkedIn is a website. So it is a Google searchable platform. So to improve those search results when someone is just out on Google, those are the type of words that will be searchable. So it's great to enhance those, add to them. You know, obviously when I got back from getting certified, one of the first things I did is I added that certification to my LinkedIn profile. It was a great opportunity to share some growth and progress towards what my ultimate kind of professional direction. But then people within your context are notified as well, if that's okay with you. So it's a great way to, again, build that credibility around the area you're looking to be an expert in. The third kind of big bucket, and this is one I think a lot of people, or at least I've seen, maybe could do better at, or there's certainly a better opportunity to really take advantage of. Again, 1.5 million groups are in LinkedIn, so it's, again, a great resource of like-minded, business-savvy experts, all sub-grouped already. They're already sub-targeted and segmented for you. So it's a great, therefore, forums of posting a question, posting an article and reacting, and interacting. You want to participate. So it's, what are some experts that you just read about, posting something they said to that group, and getting a conversation started. That's what's important about LinkedIn. This isn't a static, reactive resource that you just finish your profile and sit and let people, do things. You want to be regularly engaged. You want to be participating, and you want to express your own ideas, because almost guaranteed. And again, Kathy was kind enough to share an example. When you're positioning yourself as expressing ideas and posting questions, others will see that, and then they'll reach out to you on opportunities. So it's a cyclical kind of ongoing cycle that just makes it really worthwhile.
And Tim, I've got to throw out, and this is kind of funny. I love the irony of this one. So 2 questions came in,
yeah,
and they're coming at the same thing from opposite sides. So one of them is great.
Yeah.
You mentioned when you got certified that you went back and changed your information so that people could find you. They said, okay, how do I get found as a coach? And then on the other end, I've got somebody saying, okay, so if I want to find someone like a coach, how do I find them? so I love that. It's both sides of the question. Let me give you that.
Yeah. No, again, and that's it's a great reality example of just in a coverall starting point. It's all situational. And to the first question, I struggle, and initially too, with okay, now that I'm certified and I posted on my profile, how can I be found? And to be honest, and it's back to the first gentleman or the other person's question, the coach's question, I'm constantly now, since then, and that was last October, doing proactive outbound research and commenting and posting and social and offline things like today's webinar to just get visibility. So there is no one thing. It's an integration of what I call offline and online tactics, where LinkedIn is just one of an online example. So you're right. The day I posted, hey, I'm certified, yay, but then that's come and gone. There needs to be some regular kind of churning of a marketing plan, if you will, of regularly scheduled touches outbound. And that's what's helping more and more people see that, oh, you are a coach. Oh, you also happen to be certified. And then to the second person's question, again, very, very relevant, is how do you find it? If you already have a profile on LinkedIn, there's some great search fields that I'll show you here in a minute that then helps, especially if you're looking for, maybe it's a coach, but in your certain geographical area, or maybe someone you went as an alum from years ago, or et cetera. There's several different kind of variables that you can toggle basically across those 74 million people to make the search much more targeted and specific to the criteria you set. So great. I love the opposites of it. But very real. Very.
That was great, and I love your comment on making sure you're getting the touches out there, because I know that through participation in different groups, that's how people reach out to me. So.
Yeah, and that's a kind of a, we all go through it, is recognizing you need to be proactive. Bottom line, this isn't just a post and done, and people aren't going to be ringing the phone or jumping on things immediately. And there's a great graphic I'll share later of what is that true time commitment. I think some people, especially newer users, fear the perception of, oh my God, another time drain, not another thing I have to go follow up, and not another task I have to go do. You'll be, I think, pleasantly surprised that it's, again, up to you. And those ways to spend, it's really what amount of time you're spending, but then how are you spending that time effectively? So I want to just dig in a little bit into the weeds of just the whole kind of mechanics of LinkedIn. And for those of you that are fairly strong users of LinkedIn, this may feel a little review, and that's great. Hopefully there's a nugget or two. But for those that are maybe newer, I think this might be helpful just to kind of hone in on what are the main things before. I don't need to be an expert. I don't need to drill into everything, but where should I at least be comfortable and complete? Just a simple navigation here. It's like any website. The main tabs, if you will, those blue words across the second gray bar, is really just profile. We're going to get into that. Contacts is just LinkedIn's connections. That's just the word they use, and I'll show you that a little bit. Groups will show specifically. I'm not necessarily going to jump into the Jobs tab today. That could be a great second follow-up webinar. But again, that's where recruiters and where if you posted a job, where they use that a lot, but where you also can apply for jobs. But the inbox is just a standard messaging like any other Gmail or Hotmail account. So you can send direct email messages to connections you've made. Companies, I recommend, is definitely start searching through there of different industry companies and organizations, and we'll touch a little bit about that, et cetera. There's a whole slew of further things like more. So as you become more familiar, just play around, just start really delving into what is really and what has turned into, and it keeps evolving, a great system. Just a quick comment about the difference between a personal profile and a company one. Joy is a friend of mine here in St. Louis. She works at WashU. She was kind enough to let me use her profile page. So profile is what we all have as an individual. I have one, Kathy has one, Joy has one. These are those individual pages that you use as really your main kind of home base. The company profile, you'll see, that's WashU. That's actually Joy's employer. They have their own company page. Really the difference just being individuals you connect with. You have to say yes. You have to opt in to their request to connect. Company pages are more kind of facing out, where you can just go simply follow them, and it doesn't require them to approve you following them, but then you stay up to date when they post. But I guarantee you, as myself, I follow WashU. Every time they post, it shows up on my scroll. So it keeps me up to date on what's going on with a university that I've chosen to follow. And that's what I meant earlier about how many companies and Fortune 500 businesses are in LinkedIn. This company page is what they also have. So it's a great way to find almost maybe connections that you have you don't even know you have in a company that is now on your radar, whether it's for a new job or not. Maybe it's for a professional client engagement. Maybe it's for an opportunity to speak. But it's an awesome way to go to that company, see who's employed there, and then wait till you'll be amazed at the minimal number of connections away you are from pretty high up or decision-making people. The thing about the personal profiles, and I just want to spend a few minutes on this because it's so important to have your profile at 100%. this actually caught me a little off guard, not off guard, it was a little surprising. As someone who's been in LinkedIn for so long, I just assumed everyone had their profile complete, so when I found this, I thought I have to share it. So barely half have it at 100%. So what does it take to become 100%? It's literally these simple percentages. For those that are fairly new to LinkedIn, just entering your name and position, you're already 1/4 there. The next 5%, while it is a small number, I cannot be more strong, adamantly supportive of, you please get a photo. Hopefully not one from Facebook and one that's just taken somewhere in your living room that's blurry. It doesn't have to be super professional where you're sitting with a background and lights and all that, but a professional looking photo and get it up there. I guarantee you, and I'm guilty of it, when I search for people and there's no photo, my immediate perception is, and reaction, again, right or wrong, is what are they, okay, why isn't it up there? Why can't they finish their profile? What are they hiding? Is it really them? All to the extremes. But yes, it's a 5%, but it's so important to have that completeness of a physical picture. Summary, that's just literally, if you visualize, like close your eyes and visualize the top. If the visitor only read that section, what is the messaging and the presence and the brand you want them to go away with? That's 5%. Specialties, your perfect opportunity to specifically pick specialties you want to education, another 15. 2 jobs, another 30%. So again, we're rapidly getting there just by putting in stuff that I know is already on resumes. Then the recommendations, there's a minimum of 3 at 5% each to get to that 100%. And recommendations are just LinkedIn's way of where you can ask someone, or they can provide it unsolicited, a recommendation to your abilities and skills and accomplishments at a previous employment, at some previous job. It can come from a boss, it can come from a direct report, or just a peer. And in fact, there was a great question that while I was preparing for this, someone asked, well, what's the best way to solicit recommendations? And that's really up to you. My opinion is, and I think in general, it's best to reach out to individuals that you certainly more know, like, and trust, that are going to provide the recommendation that espouses the skill and or competency that you're looking to really shine within that job. The good part is you get to approve the recommendation before it gets posted. And in fact, you can even edit it a little bit because they submit it, and then you have the ability to give that final approval. But it's those type of recommendations that are needed to get to 100%. Just a quick,
Kim, I got another question, and it goes back to what you were talking about on the last slide, and I didn't have a chance to jump in quick enough. And it is it wise for a coach to create a company page?
Wow, great question. That's a great question. It's interesting. Just from my personal example, I created my own company name because I knew I wanted to have, for example, a web presence and a URL, because again, if they're not checking LinkedIn first, they're certainly checking it second, and therefore they're checking the website first. So I created a company just to provide that accessibility and visibility, so therefore I created a company. But I could see the rationale of, as a coach, you're literally involved maybe as a sole proprietor or a contractor to others where you may not need that kind of flag of your own business. That, in fact, I'm now thinking, I know a fellow coach here in St. Louis who she has basically her own coaching, but she just positions herself across a myriad of industries, so she doesn't necessarily have a company moniker. So no, there isn't a company linked to that. She just summarizes in her summary and specialties those industries and niches. So I guess it's interesting. I would say it depends.
It seems like, yeah, if you have a company page, you want regular updates of valuable information going out. And so if you have that, it makes sense. And if you don't have that, it probably makes less sense. Is that a fair guess?
I would say there is no rhyme or reason to. It's not mandatory. It's definitely not mandatory. It's what works
Okay.
for you. It's interesting.
Excellent. And then another great question. You were talking about the recommendations, so bringing you back to the slide you're on. And this question is, how do you solicit recommendations from a coaching client when the coaching process is confidential?
Excellent question. That, in fact, I run into that, or have been running into that, not just for my LinkedIn recommendations, but for some testimonials on my own website. And you know what? That's something to really think for or think out first, because, for example, it's important. While recommendations, and certainly from your specific clients, is very relevant, I also think, at least on LinkedIn, it's important to have the identifiable person, because then, in fact, I've done it. I've linked to the connection, or there's the name and the title of the person, because, to be honest, that carries weight with the credibility of the recommendation when you then see, oh, this is, for example, an executive VP or an owner or a business C-suite person. So my initial reaction to that is because of the confidentiality, your own coaching clients may not be the best resource for LinkedIn recommendations.
Well, and let me jump in with you, Tim.
Yeah,
It's in some cases that's going to be true because they're going to be uncomfortable with that. In other cases, because of what coaching is, many of your coaching clients absolutely brag about having a coach and having you as a coach. If they give you a recommendation on LinkedIn, does that mean they're sharing confidential information? No. And in addition to that, they're the ones deciding what they share.
No, that's an excellent point.
In terms of confidentiality, I think that's less of an issue than is what's a good time to ask them for a recommendation.
Yeah. That's a better question. When is the appropriate time to pose the request?
Yes. And then, and by the way, when they're having a lot of success, that's a great time.
Yeah.
I've got another question here. What carries more weight, the recommendations or the endorsement of skills?
You know, that's an excellent question. My short answer is going to, in my opinion, is recommendations. In fact, I have a slide coming up on endorsements. That's a new feature that LinkedIn has created as of just this last fall. And I have a whole slide coming up on endorsements. So can we just hold on that question, and then I'll circle back to it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Excellent. So the listener, please hold on. That's definitely a whole page coming up, because I wanted to make sure to include it, because it's just the kind of a new thing to keep in mind. But I'll definitely have an opinion on which is the better, or which I feel is more important, very shortly.
And of course, after this call, everyone can go on and endorse you for your skill on LinkedIn, right?
Why, of course. Well, and what's interesting is it'll be interesting to see who, in fact, even just goes and looks at my LinkedIn profile. It's, in fact, proving the point. I mean, obviously, it's a softball setup today because the topic's on LinkedIn, but it's just a way to subjectively and very small data sample, if you will, prove that it's a great resource for people just to go look out and say, okay, who is this character? Who is Tim Dean? What's going on? Type of thing. And I'm fine with that. In fact, I welcome it.
Yeah, excellent. Good.
So just some terminology, again, that many people may be already familiar with, but for those that are fairly new, a first degree is just someone like myself and Kathy. She and I obviously met. I got coached, got certified by her. I immediately thought, yes, let's connect. I forget who even sent the invite. I accepted or whatever. So now Kathy and I are first degree connections. Second degree would be, say, someone Kathy knows that I don't know. But if I look through Kathy's connections and said, hey, Kathy, I see you know James, that would be a second degree to me. So it's someone she's connected to, but it's 2 degrees. So 1 to Kathy, 1 to James. Third degree is just that next level. And just in terminology for LinkedIn, if it's any further out than that, kind of the Kevin Bacon 6th degree of separation, that just means they're out of network. So when you search for people and you get the out of network flag, it just means it's more than third degree, and it could be who knows what. Simple way to invite, and the reason I included this is like you, especially for those that use LinkedIn a lot, and Kathy probably shares this as well, we both get invites from people we've never met, or we might get invites from people that that you just, wait a minute, hold on. So the reason I share this slide is the way to connect to someone is you're able to self-select what is the way you know this person. Now, some of these circles, that when you click it, it then requires a secondary entry of an email address, or how do you know this person, or what business did you work with this person at. So when that person gets the invite, it gives that link to better basically improve the probability they're going to say yes, like, oh yeah, I know you. But the friend option right in the middle allows anyone to send you an invite. And the reason I bring that up is that it's okay to just self-select, if you'd like, who you want to connect with. And for me, I choose to accept invites from people, at least for me, of who I've met. So when I get those kind of random invites from someone who just seems to notice, oh, I noticed you and I share this, I just ignore it, and that's just my prerogative. However, I also know people on LinkedIn that are fine just saying yes to everyone, because in their business, maybe they prefer to have as many contacts as possible, and that's okay for them. But for me, because I really position this as professional, I choose to keep it professional, and that to me implies who do I know, who did I meet at some point, or who referred someone to me, and that's just me. Then the whole bunch of features on LinkedIn, and again, I just recommend take some time over a weekend or pour some coffee on a Saturday or Sunday and just kind of peruse around and just start searching through some of these cool features. Not surprisingly, the #1 feature is groups.
Tim, I've got to jump in with this question. Please. Sorry, because it's on the last comment you made.
Okay.
So actually, 2 of them have come in. Here's one. My dilemma. I was just invited to connect with somebody I haven't talked to in over 30 years, and their LinkedIn profile is a hot mess. I'm torn between wanting to help him and keep my integrity as a professional. And so they wanted your thoughts on that. And then I've got another question, too.
Wow. Great insight toward the end of that question of retaining the integrity. Especially, it's interesting. My perception is already maybe similar to the writer of the question, is what you're thinking about this person's hot mess of a profile. If there's a way to somehow get a message to this person that, you know, hey, it might be a good idea, if you feel like taking the time. I saw the invite. I chose to say no because, and you might be running into the same thing with others. As a way to improve that, I learned on today's webinar, for example, here's a way to get it to be 100% and clean it up, or here's some, again, it's deciding how much resources you even want to start allocating to help this person. But when I hear 30 years, too, who knows if it's even someone you want to connect with, even if the profile had been great. So it sounds like, at least initially from that question, it might be best for now, ignore, and then if deciding, proactively saying, hey, Joe, great to hear from you, however.
Well, and let me throw this out, because there's
please.
4 or 5 related questions coming in. So when somebody makes the request, you can do nothing, just leave it in your inbox and nothing happens. It sits there for a while. You can click to ignore it. You can click to flag it, you know, hey, I don't know this person, or you can click to accept. So then the questions coming in is, does LinkedIn flag random invites? And then if you click ignore, what happens?
It's a great question. From my understanding, and until I see otherwise, when I ignore, it just ignores and it clears out my inbox. And to Kathy's valid point, you can just let them sit in your inbox. I just, my OCD, I like to have the mailbox cleared out, so I just will click ignore. From my understanding, and you know, I'm 95% clear on this, the inviter doesn't get the message, oh, so-and-so declined. It just goes away. They just do not hear back. In fact, before today, I went back through some invites I sent, you know, 6 months, a year, or longer, because they stay in your sent box, the invites you send, and it'll indicate all those accepted individually, but then there's others that you just never hear back from. And that's why I feel that I'm pretty confident in that, is I myself have invites out there that are 6 months old, and either they're ignoring it, but I know some of those people would have said no.
Okay.
Great question.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, keep them coming. So yeah, back on to some of these features, and we're not going to go through all of these, or even in fact many of these, but not surprisingly, group is number one. As you can see, 70, almost 80% at the top. And really just the next slide, I just want to make a highlight. This is just, and several of you may already be familiar with this, if you ever want to just search a group, for example, when I first moved to St. Louis, I was curious about, at the time I was working for a HR consulting company, I wanted to find the local chapter of ASTD and SHRM. So this is where I went to type in, okay, where are the chapters for SHRM and ASTD here in St. Louis? So this would be the fields to just type in some keywords, look for groups, that type of thing. Right below that circle, you can see you can create a group. So it's an excellent opportunity to, when you're when you're ready or when you just want to try, create a group, and then you invite your own contacts or your specific targeted contacts to join you in a like-minded group. So it's a way to start that forum of interactivity, connectivity, and building that credibility around whatever the group you're looking to create. And as I said, there's over, I believe, 1.5 million I saw, or as I shared. So there's a lot of groups already out there. So the challenge is, which ones to pick if you want to join. I know that there's a maximum. You can join up to 50. So that's, I'm certainly not in 50, so I'm nowhere near that max. However, know that groups, because of their functionality, they allow someone, once they're a member of a group, if you're both members of that same group, they can send you an invite to connect. Basically, they get that free pass without knowing you. So just be, again, a little wary of that, especially if you see a little red flag that comes up that visually indicates, okay, this person has 0 or 1 connections, for example. So that's a perfect opportunity to say skip, no, because, again, you're going to have those users that have found a way, and groups has that functionality that lets you bypass, okay, for example, Mary and I are connected, and et cetera, et cetera. So just be aware that there's ways for you to, again, self-select who you want to be connected with. This isn't just open forum.
Good. And another question came in, is building your quote-unquote database of connections, is it wise to build on quantity or quality, i.e. 55% of my connections are business owners?
Great question. My immediate and still, I think, forever answer for that is going to be quality. Just because I come from a marketing and business and B2B background, that while LinkedIn users, some use it for, I have 2,000 connections, I am happy to say I don't know 2,000 people. Therefore, I'm not striving for that. So I choose to retain just quantity of like-minded business professionals that I've crossed paths with across different zip codes, different countries, or different companies, excuse me. So that's just me. Again, coming from a marketing perspective, and it's the way I see LinkedIn, and it's the way I've benefited from using LinkedIn, is it keeps it very professionally targeted. Therefore, quality always trumps quantity, in my opinion.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And of course, I openly network with a lot of people, and what I do is when I get those invitations, I'll look at their profile, or I'll have somebody say, hey, reach out and connect to this one, and go with it that way. So I'm kind of a balanced approach. Now, you are getting a ton of comments and questions on this.
Oh, good.
So this is great. Just want to throw that out. I'm getting some dittos to what your comments were. And then I've got, let's see, coming in from a recruiter's perspective, I grow my network with quantity, which allows me more second-degree connections. Then I've got someone else to say, is it wise to be cautious about accepting connections you do not know? They had a bad experience when they accepted a request from a shared connection in a similar field, and the person turned out to have unprofessional intention.
Wow.
Then another one came up saying having those connections facilitates the introduction. So we're definitely getting mixed perspectives on that question. And then another comment saying, I'm wary if someone with a lot of connections reaches out to connect with me. So it's because their priority is on quality as well. And then I've got another comment tying it into the groups. You want to think about groups in terms of who's there and how it fits with your profile. So lots of good comments and questions. And then I've got another.
Go ahead.
Here's a question for you. I've got a couple coming in. How do you get rid of everyone posting on my page everything they post on their page? And to me, that sounds like a Facebook thing and not a LinkedIn. Am I wrong about that?
And I think we're going to be there's some relevance to that in the settings that's coming up soon. So again, another great question in about 2 minutes. I want to go back to that recruiter comment because I think it's completely relevant and also very understandable. I understand certainly from a recruiter's point, you want to have quantity. Again, because think of the goal, that the second degree of connections, it's vastly important to be able to have the volume of connections to individuals that would match certain criteria for future job selection. So again, the situations are endless. It's what's best for you, and it's okay. Make it for what you want. It's your brand. It's your presence, and it's a tool. You don't have to be a slave to it. You don't have to be subjected to it per se. Use it proactively, and then it becomes an adjunct of you. So great. I loved the variety of feedback on that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and now here's another one. How do you profile yourself if you represent two different disciplines? So, for example, a coach who's also involved in a multi-level marketing business.
Wow. Great question. It's interesting. Hearing that question reminded me of a gentleman who I used to work with on a previous life, and very multidisciplined, but manufacturing and Lean Six Sigma, and then was also a designer, like a creative director. So could you imagine just trying to promote the different skills there? But I guess I would see it as, are there ways to meld the similarities or the parallels between the marketing and the coaching? Because I see LinkedIn as a visual way and an online way to promote your brand, which is marketing. You then can incorporate terminology that reinforces either, both, but a way to, again, what is the perception you want people to walk away with if they only visited your profile and read your summary and your skills? Think of it like a resume, an online resume. But I also don't want to communicate that it's supposed to be that literal. Again, you make it for what it is or what you want it to be. But I could see, and now I'm just kind of thinking outside the box, what is a way to blend and meld, if you will, the connectivity, if you will, between a marketing expertise and what those skills are, and messaging and visibility and credibility and perception with the coaching, which is around trust and et cetera. So that'd be a great little kind of follow-up call to kind of brainstorm how to make that really shine.
Yeah, excellent. Well, and one feedback that came in is another option is having a personal profile and a business page. So either presenting it in a way that these both make sense for either person that reads it, someone coming from either angle, or having the two separate things.
No, that's a good call. Yeah, the expertise, if you will, then is a little bit of separate, which is good. It keeps it on its own page. Good. Thank you to whoever shared that.
Excellent. Yeah.
Good. Great questions. I love it. Just quickly, and again, people may be familiar with this. I just shared this recently with another group in a live event, and they found it very helpful, so I just wanted to quickly share this. If you ever just want to kind of maximize search technique, I just did a quick search on me, type my name in. If you kind of move your eye right above the picture of me, 6,400 Tim Deans, which of course just made me freak for one way. But then I said, okay, I don't have time to go through all that. LinkedIn, if you just scroll down that same page, now if you get your eyes down to the bottom left, I thought, okay, what are the ways I can obviously self-select? If you just type in by location, greater, and start typing in your city, regardless of the volume, well, obviously the cities above have hundreds, so they're showing up visually. You just type in your own location, Greater St. Louis, lo and behold, yes, it shows 80 results, which jumped or which dropped from the 6,000, but notice I'm now the only Tim Dean. There's other Tims, there's other Deans, but it's just a simple, like, 2-click process that makes a search so much more streamlined and so much simpler. And secondarily, that same group of criteria, not just location, there's a whole slew of different variables you can use. Maybe it's someone you went to grad school with, so you just click on that school, drop down, and you type in your grad school. And then, or maybe it's someone you worked with at a past company. And notice the new ones that are in beta, levels, and you can type in the company. So there's just so many ways you can self-select different, it's like pivot functionality in Excel. You just make the search so much quicker and faster. Great question earlier on endorsements. Just a quick minute on endorsements. This was just introduced in the fall. My opinion, and I've read some, and I agree, many mixed reviews on this, because it's just something you can do in one click. What does that one click really mean? In fact, I just read something today that there's now been over 5.8 billion endorsements or something since it started. So people are clicking. However, just a caveat, and this is why I personally feel that recommendations are 10 times better. There are some serial endorsers out there. So they'll, oh, you endorse me on these 6, and I'll endorse you. Secondarily, and we've all seen it, we'll start to get endorsements from people that I know for a fact that person did not witness or have any knowledge of me in that area. I didn't work with them in that capacity, so how do they really know that I'm good at the endorsement they just clicked? Therefore, I personally take them with a grain of salt. I think the jury's still out on really what the real true benefit is. However, minimally, though, I provide some recommendations. You really do not want to actively solicit. I just recommend against it. Secondarily, if you do provide an endorsement, truly focus on those skills you're 100% certain about. In fact, one of my direct reports from a previous life, she was, I saw it show up on her profile page, or I got it, and I said, okay, that I can endorse. Bottom line, and this happened recently, someone endorsed me, and I thought, okay, I don't remember you, and they certainly don't have any knowledge of me in that area. However, it was a perfect opportunity for me to reconnect and reestablish a relationship on LinkedIn to say, hey, great to hear from you. What are you up to, type of thing. So it is an opportunity to kind of turn it around, and instead of focusing on, oh my gosh, I have 70 endorsements, I'm just going to go for the moon, what is the way to reconnect with that person? And then moving on to settings, and this was the question about how do you know what's set up and where to go. There's just 3 things I circled on this page. The primary one I want to focus on is the bottom left, at least initially. That is where you can identify what are the email preferences you can set up. So on LinkedIn, I choose to, when I get a notification that someone does anything on my profile, whether I get endorsed or whether they look at my profile or whether they comment on a post, I get an email into my Hotmail account. So it streamlines me having to log into 5 different things. So it's just a way to consolidate it whatever way you feel is best. The middle circle is just if you ever buy a subscription, and we're going to get to that in a second, it just provides kind of more bells and whistles, more nuts and bolts into LinkedIn. And if you ever have had a subscription for job searching or otherwise, you know what some of these are. And then finally, on the far right, well, even before I moved on to the next page, make a point to just play around with this page because you get to see all the back-end stuff that's going on that you can self-select, whether it's your account, your password, your email. But I'm going to take us now to the far right that I've circled, the Manage Account Settings. When you click on that link, look at all of the other additional links you now have. So it's really a huge, FAQ database of, okay, how do I do the following things? So LinkedIn, I feel, has done a great job to have you, as your own profile, really keep track of what you want people to see. What are you controlling? Who's seeing what you see? And look at the fourth bullet from the bottom, privately looking for a job. I know people that use that. So again, it's not just this reactive, static data platform sitting there. Finally, real quick, a lot of people use the free version. I use the free version, at least today. Again, I mentioned I used to in the past have a subscription. There are three versions, but really there's just multiple levels that LinkedIn allows you to expand your visibility and expand the way you can reach and search and send invites to people. And it's, obviously a way they make some money, revenue. And not surprisingly, LinkedIn has created versions specifically for recruiters, job seekers, and sales professionals to really hone in on those professions. Finally, before I get to the summary, I just want to share this last graphic. Again, for those that think, oh dear God, I don't have enough time to check yet another thing, really self-select how much time you feel is necessary for you. Notice here, nearly 48% spend 0 to 2. So you're not alone if you're not on a lot. However, notice how the numbers go down, but then on the back end, over there at 8+, the number jumps back up to 10.5%. So that you do have your kind of group, your 10% that are on there at least more than an hour a day. And that's fine too for them. Personally, I actually log into LinkedIn every day. I just like to stay up to date, go through the mailbox, but I also use it as an opportunity to post articles that I find interesting that are relevant to coaching. So I self-select articles related to how to empower others, the benefit of the happy employee, those type of things. Just a real quick review, because I know we're close on time. Bottom line, LinkedIn, use it. It's free. Share your story. Discover and find and rediscover those people. And in time, those opportunities will find you. And bottom line, it's a great way to engage and continue that relationship with your network. So what can you do today? For those of you that are more beginners or intermediates, make sure your profile is complete. Again, get the picture up, among other things, but complete that profile to 100%. Invite connections. Build those recommendations. Join the groups. And Kathy was 100% correct. Post on those groups. Stay participating, interacting. Post updates. And finally, comment on someone else's updates. It's kind of like that, again, that cycle of, when you see someone else comment on their comment, and so on and so on. But what if you're kind of expert and you're already there and you have, it's established well and you're on all the time? Start a group. What a great way to be seen as an expert in a certain new area, or a new group, in an area you want others to start to be talking about. Some choose to link their profile to other social platforms. I know a realtor, for example, that has all of them connected, so when you post a one, it goes to all three. I do not. My opinion and my use, I keep Facebook completely separate. I draw a hard line between Facebook and LinkedIn. And then prepare for encounters. It's a great way that I use it all the time to research people before I ever have a confirmed engagement or networking situation or speaking engagement. Then I'm prepared to start a conversation of, oh, I noticed you went to here, or I noticed your previous life included this. Not only is it a great conversation starter, but it provides a commonality. Some obviously have it on your smartphone. There's an app now for that. And then bottom line, over time and continually, what a great way to establish yourself in an expert you choose and your brand and your presence is. So really quick, I know we had some great questions, but any more, Kathy?
Yes, and of course I'm getting a lot of thank yous as well as far as that goes, and I'm sure people have scheduling things. So here are some of the questions coming in. First one, how do you post articles?
Good question. One of my favorite, and I'll be happy to share, one of my favorite websites that I always get articles from is Forbes.com. So what I'll do is, as I find an article on Forbes, and a lot of online articles have this now, they automatically have a connective social media link, if you will, to a myriad of different platforms, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. When you click on that icon, the LinkedIn icon within the article, it automatically launches LinkedIn. You can then even edit and choose what picture you want to post with that article, not from any picture, but just the 2 or 3 that might be kind of loaded with that article. And then you just post, and it shows up automatically on your profile. Now, some articles don't have that embedded in it, so the alternative, and it's just a way to do it as well, is I'll just copy and paste the whole URL of that article, go to my profile page, and just enter it in as my own update. But again, it's just posting an article, and then what I'll do is I'll provide a comment that's mine that is just a personal kind of reaction, or, oh, I completely agree, or, for example, there was a great article recently that it talked about, what are the top 5 benefits for getting engaged, or staying engaged at work, or stuff like that. And I said, oh, love number 1 and number 5, because it talked about finding your purpose and getting a coach. And I thought, okay, blatant suck up. Let's just say, okay, I agree with number 1 and 5 wholeheartedly. But again, I obviously am not the author, but it's a great way to have others in my connections have access to an article that they may not have otherwise seen.
And what if it's an article you write?
Okay, great. Another good question. That's something then, especially if you have your own company page, to the great questions, then you post it as an update on your company and your personal page, then all your connections see it. It's another way to use that is on your own website as your own blog, which probably is already there too. I'm all for, again, back to the marketing hat, self-populating that across a myriad of platforms, whether it's your own website and blog, which has a whole different group that's probably seeing it, your LinkedIn, Twitter, your own company page on LinkedIn. I mean, that's a great way to promote your own writing, is do it multiple, because you want to get others to see your writings on an area they now find interesting, which then increases your credibility within an area they already agree with you on.
Excellent. Another question, Tim. Did you find there was or was not an advantage to upgrading, and did it require more work, yes or no?
Oh, good question. Yeah, when I was in my own transition, and if you check out my website, I just ask you to go read my journey page, because trust me, I've been there with all of you. I did it for visual reasons. I think it was $29. I bought the $29.95, I think, per month version. But I did it for visual reasons, so that when I applied for jobs and recruiters and other people online went and looked, they saw that I was very proactive, utilizing a platform that I already know they're looking at. So you're able to put like a little badge next to your name up in your profile that says you're an active job seeker. It puts you, it was just a way to further represent, hey, I'm a proactive job seeker, and I'm using a platform to do it. Now, did it, ultimately I got a new job. Now, was there a direct link to this company found me on LinkedIn because of that job searching badge? Not necessarily. However, when I wasn't even actively searching, a consulting company, actually within the last year, found me on LinkedIn and then reached out to me. We connected offline, and then I got interviewed, and then ended up getting poached out of my, at the time, current employer, and they hired me into their company. So even when you're not looking, someone, and it wasn't even a recruiter, it was a consultant at a company, but they were tasked with finding talent, found me, poached me, and then I went and started there for a little bit. So it's a way to, it's going to happen, but even if you're, or especially when you're proactively looking, it might be worthwhile a small investment to really enhance that visual brand that you're very serious about this on a profile, or excuse me, on a platform that nearly every recruiter is using all the time.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. A couple more questions coming in. What is the best time to post on LinkedIn?
It's interesting. I always potentially use my marketing hat when we always would send out invites for our own webinars or certain events. I always stayed away from Monday mornings just because everyone's checking their business emails. I also stay away typically from Friday afternoon, unless it's executives. We had found that because executives travel a lot, and this is in general, these are generalities, but a lot of executives are back in their office on Fridays, certainly in the afternoons. So if it's a self-selected group of C-suites, they tended to be in their office, so we would sometimes target it then, but only to them that day. I'll give you another good example. When I launched my new website, and this was just my own reason, I purposely waited to post the public announcement of it on all platforms until Valentine's Day. So I figured what a great day to post it, because I figured everyone's on social media that day looking at other people's posts and pictures and celebrations and Valentine's, and I thought I might as well get into the mix. And I felt it worked because I got some great traffic to the website. But it's use whatever you think is a good way to get in the mix of the traffic. I think in general, I would just say no sooner than lunch on Monday, and anytime. Lunch hours are good because that's when some people tend to check a lot. But think of it as an invite to something. When are people taking those little breaks to kind of take a little time off to read?
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And then the next question, how do I link my profile page to Facebook?
I believe that's going to be in the settings when you go back to, here, let's go back. Whoops.
And then,
okay.
By the way, Tim,
okay.
I've got a lot of people typing in thank you, and they're looking forward to seeing the recording on YouTube so they can go through it again and share it with people. So just want to let you know, a lot of people are typing in thanks. Okay,
thank you,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
For
those that still have the visual, I scrolled back to the settings, and I'm not 100% sure on this on Facebook, but I know if you look at now the page I've brought back up and go to kind of the center at the bottom under settings, LinkedIn has created an automatic link to Twitter, but I know that there's a way, in fact, that's a good follow-up, because notice how there's a self-select for Twitter settings if you want to automatically connect. I would even start perusing, and it's probably one of the first things I'm going to do afterwards, is how to go to those other frequently asked questions, because there was some, not so long ago, a year ago, there was this, and now I'm talking about Twitter again still, there was LinkedIn finally stopped having every Twitter post show up on every person's LinkedIn profile scroll, which was actually a good thing because it prevented, thankfully it took away just the most mundane Twitter posts showing up on LinkedIn. Now for Facebook, I remember seeing this because I think I opted out because, again, I don't want to have it. There's a way to manage those settings equally for Facebook. And if you choose to kind of eliminate that blur, do it. Or, if you want to make the lines solid, dotted, or just eliminate it, I know there's a way you can, with any of these platforms, when you make one, it goes to all. Okay.
Great. Excellent. And the next question, how do you use Google Analytics?
Google Analytics is, and that's something I learned when I got training on my new site. I know that with my own URL, now for my own coaching business, there is analytics that I can look at daily, but I'm not sure of the connection necessarily of Google Analytics with your LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn presence. I could see Google Analytics are for your website. So maybe if the person's still on, they could clarify that question a little bit.
Okay, and I'm unsure if they're still on or not. I've got a lot of people throwing things out here. So if you, the person who asked that about the Google Analytics, you can clarify, please do.
Yeah, please.
In the meantime, a lot of these have gone by very quickly, just because how many people are on the call, et cetera. So I think we're in good shape, Tim. I think you have answered all of the questions. And then what I'm hearing from people is, they very much appreciate your input and everything you have covered. So a lot of thanks on that. Okay, I did get a reply. You did answer the question on the Google Analytics. So lots of thanks. A lot of people, again, asking, so yes, the recording will be available on YouTube. If you registered for today, I will email you a link to where you can see this on YouTube so you can go back and review it again. In the meantime, Tim is the Coaching Dean, and so his website is the Coaching Dean, and you are welcome to check him out, visit him there, and get more information. So thank you very much to everyone on the call, and thank you to Tim. And by the way, Tim, I think you're going to get some LinkedIn invites off of that.
that would be wonderful.
I'm getting that comment in as well, so definitely appreciate it. I will go ahead and close out the recording now, get this up on YouTube and send it out. And thank you, Tim, for everything that you've shared with us.
And thank you, Kathy. My pleasure. Really enjoyed it. And everyone, thank you so much for the questions. Excellent group today. Thank you.
All right. Fabulous. We'll talk to all of you soon.